Get ready to get uncorked. It's a new kind of show. Starring me, Cindy Ashton. With special guest, Lori Brautigan. Live from the streets of New York City. This is Cindy Uncorked. All right, I hope you had a fantastic week. Today, we have Lori Brautigan on the show, and we're going to discover what's hidden in your food. Uh-oh. And then at the very end of the show, I'm going to talk about how do you deal with someone who goes, wah, 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 and they ramble on and on and on and on and on. But in the meantime, we've got to start out with our adventure. All right, let's get uncorked. Guess what? We are back at our favorite cooking school and store, Home Chef, H-E-A-S, Home Chef. And so today we've got the owner again, Matthew White.
Glad to be here.
Yes, we're so excited
Thank
you're
you.
here. But this time, you're the one doing the cooking.
I am.
You are.
We have a special treat.
What's our treat?
Well, this is a gluten-free meal, an entire meal that's gluten-free, starting with all these beautiful vegetables, salmon.
That makes me super excited because you know I'm gluten-free.
I do know.
And a lot of our viewers are gluten-free.
This is for you, Cindy.
That and the salmon. You didn't, when we set this up, you didn't know that salmon is my favorite fish to eat.
Oh, really?
See?
Good. Good girl.
Okay, let's get started.
All right, so this is I love this dish because it's so easy and it's all in one pot.
Okay.
So you see our vegetables, we have onions, garlic, zucchini, tomatoes, yellow pepper, olives, lemon, salmon, and basil. And so it's very Mediterranean.
Yeah.
It's just the most delicious. What I love about it is if I'm not feeling well, I make this dish because it has all these great, it makes me feel so healthy. Just look at this. So we'll start out with our onions. So yeah, you cook the onions until they're translucent.
Okay.
Don't overcook the onions.
All right.
Now, garlic. Garlic cooks faster than onions. So you put the garlic in afterwards.
Just throw it in all together.
No, because garlic can burn, and then it's not that good.
And that's why you're the chef. Okay.
So yeah, we're pretty much there.
Okay.
I'm gonna crank up the heat just a little bit. And now, we'll pour in the zucchini.
Okay.
Now, none of this is salted, of course, so you want to add a good amount of salt, layering it in.
Just like Marty showed us last month.
Exactly, exactly. And another thing I'm going to use is tomato paste. I'm going to mix that sort of into the base with the onions. And
okay, so you just put it at the side.
Well, I'm going to just, I should have probably put it in with the onions, but I'm just going to incorporate it in. It'll blend in.
Okay, great.
Now, what you need to know about zucchini and tomatoes is when you cook them, there's a lot of water in those vegetables.
Oh, okay.
And those are going to come in handy because we're basically going to steam the fish in those juices.
Oh, very clever.
So now the pepper.
Because I'll put in my salmon, I poach it, but this feels like a better way to do it.
Oh yeah, you're poaching it in all the juices of these wonderful vegetables. Tomatoes. And now you're going to notice when this cooks just a minute, it's going to get kind of watery, and that's good. Again, all those juices from these vegetables.
This is very fast.
It is. It's a pretty quick dish. Now, if you're making it for more people, it might take a little bit longer.
Okay, so we're just making it for like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, this is like and it's great for that. I'm going to put in some olives.
Okay. If my mother was here, she'd be super happy.
Really?
Yeah, both my parents love olives.
Mediterranean background?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this is a very Mediterranean dish, actually.
It is.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just close this for a little bit and let those vegetables steam for just a little bit. And we're going to come back in just a few minutes and we're going to put in the salmon. So now that the vegetables have cooked just a little bit, it's just been about 5 minutes, you see that there's some liquid in there.
Yeah.
And so the vegetables are starting to express their juices, which is really good. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit more salt.
Now, are you using sea salt or regular?
Sea salt, definitely sea salt. You don't want to use iodine. I don't even know what it's called, but
iodinized salt.
Don't use that stuff.
I never use it.
It's terrible. Okay, now I'm just
terrible.
Yeah, awful stuff. So now we're just squeezing in half of a lemon. I'm kind of using my hand as a strainer here.
You know what? I do the same thing.
So now we we really have these juices going.
I love that you added lemon in there. That
Oh,
makes
well,
it
you know, with
nice
the
zest.
fish, yeah. You want that sort of acid in this dish. So now we're going to take the salmon.
Now, do you need to put any spices on the salmon at all?
No, well, you know, I could add a little salt on one side. So what I did is I sort of dug a little trough, not all the way to the bottom, but so there's a layer of vegetables there, and I'm going to lay it on that layer of vegetables. Salt the top, more lemon.
Now, if you were doing this for a bigger family, you would have a bigger pot.
A bigger pot.
More vegetables. And would you have?
It's a little more difficult. If you're doing it for a group of 10 people or so, it's a little, I mean, you know, I think it's good for 4 or 6.
Okay.
It's totally doable. I would do it in 2 pots probably.
Okay.
If you were doing it for 10.
And you would do 2 salmons per pot.
Yeah.
So if you have like a family of 4,
right, and don't use a large piece of salmon. Cut them in little in serving pieces, because then they'll cook faster.
Okay.
So you see what I did is I put it on a layer of vegetables, sort of in a trough, covered it up with the vegetables, and I'm going to just close it.
Okay.
And I'm going to close it till the fish is done. But this is such a scrumptious dish that's completely gluten-free. Now you see it's sort of bubbling. I mean, look at those colors. Isn't that just gorgeous?
It's gorgeous.
And so basically it's poaching in the vegetables from the
brilliant.
zucchini and the lemon juice and the tomatoes.
And I imagine it's even absorbing the vegetable taste into the salmon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Really scrumptious.
Yummy.
So in a minute we're going to pull it out. We're going to mix in some fresh basil, and we're ready to eat.
That's great. So should I chop up the basil in the meantime?
Sure, let's do that. So
Okay.
do you know how to do this, or you want to go through?
Was it like Marty taught me last month?
Very similar.
Okay.
I layer the leaves one on top of another.
Okay.
Just like that. That's probably enough.
Okay.
So now you just roll it up like a miniature cigar.
Okay, only not because we're
Nice and tight.
Really tight. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Look how efficient that is.
Isn't that great?
I'm like a hot mess when I do basil. When I
Oh,
chop
no,
it, it's like everywhere.
so great. Okay, and you just slice it, and I would do thin strips. You know, keep it thin.
And do I do the down and around?
Yeah. But you don't have to lift your knife up so high, just high enough to, yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Good girl.
Yay, I'm learning.
You got it.
Awesome. Well, you are the knife skills expert. So.
Well, not really, but I've cut myself a few times. Okay, the secret with basil, and look at that. Isn't that just wonderful? Little strips. Why don't you do the rest, because we're going to
That's
want...
how you do it all that? Okay. See, all this time I'm like, how did I make it look so pretty?
For me, the secret for basil and cooking with basil is you add it at the very last minute.
Okay.
You don't always have to do that, but it doesn't hurt. I think just another minute or 2 and we'll be ready to go.
And look, we've got more of this. Oh, it's so pretty.
Isn't that beautiful? All right, I think we're ready to go. Let's just have a look. Oh my gosh. Doesn't it smell good?
Yeah, it does.
And let's just... So yeah, the salmon is definitely done.
Perfect.
Spread the basil love.
Oh my God.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, we've got a little more.
And it... Oh,
Oh, it's so pretty.
yeah, beautiful. So we're just going to let it wilt a little bit in there, and we're going to serve it up. Sauce as well. And there you have it.
I'm always happy to eat. Oh my gosh, that looks fantastic. Mmm.
Right. The salmon is so moist, right?
It's fantastic. All right, everybody, another adventure segment is come and gone. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. Stay tuned. Up next, we've got Live from the Streets. We go to Washington Square Park, and who knows what people are going to say this week. This segment of Live from the Streets has been brought to you by The Diet Rebellion by Dr. Carrie Fullerton. Live life, love food, be free. Do you think some foods are addictive?
Yes, like M&Ms.
Yes, totally. Have you ever had a Cheeto?
Yes, they definitely are. Like, if you have like those little brownies or something, and you're like, yeah, just one, and like, oh, another one, they're not too bad. You will get addicted. You will be like, okay, just one more.
So addictive. Absolutely. Full on.
Just one more. It's almost like a TV show just with food.
Peanut butter M&Ms or Reese's. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. Today we have another hot guest for the hot topic of the week. Her name is Lori Brautigan. She's a holistic health coach, personal trainer, and wellness advocate with doTERRA essential oils. Now, what the heck is she doing on the show today? Well, it's a bit of a secret. It has to do with what's hidden in your food. Shh. So everybody, please welcome our wonderful guest talking about what's hidden in our food, Lori Brautigan. Hello.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, I'm so excited.
Me too.
We're going on a treasure hunt today. So Lori,
Yes.
keep hearing about this gluten thing and people are sick from gluten. And when I think of the word gluten, my imagination goes to it's some big glob of something that's fatty and squishy. And I'm quite sure that I'm making this all up in my head. So can you tell us what exactly is gluten? What is it made out of?
Sure. Gluten is actually a protein,
Okay.
and it's found in wheat, barley, rye, and it's used kind of like a glue to bind together breads, pastas, and desserts, and other foods like crackers and things like that.
Interesting. So if it's like a glue, does that make it like thicker and denser?
It's used to kind of densen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got this thing that's dense and glue-like going through our bodies. So tell me, how does this affect our bodies? Why is it so damaging to us? Because we keep hearing how gluten is a bad thing.
Well, some people like me who suffer from gluten intolerance
Right.
tend to have an issue with gluten. And then there's a more serious condition called celiac disease. And with celiac disease, what happens is the gluten actually damages the villi, which are in our intestines. And villi are these little hair-like things
Okay.
that are in our intestines. And the villi actually absorb the nutrients that nourish our body. So once they get damaged from the gluten, that's where a lot of issues come in, and it causes a lot of intestinal problems.
So if the villi is all about the nutrients, that means it's stripping away our nutrients, which means that we're eating basically a bunch of calories without getting the nutritional value from it.
Exactly. So
Oh.
our bodies are not being nourished properly,
Right.
and that's a problem.
Now, I know for me, because like you, I'm gluten intolerant, and I remember I was gluten intolerant before it was like famous to be gluten intolerant. And I remember that I went to the doctor because I was bloated and I was cramping and I was feeling depressed even though I knew I wasn't depressed, and I had brain fog. And he says, "Oh, my dear, you have a depression issues. Here's some Paxil." And I said, "Dude, I've been depressed in the past. This is not it." And I went to a holistic doctor and she said that I had a gluten intolerance. And I have to tell you, being off gluten, I'm a happy woman now. But yeah, I don't think that people realize that when they're feeling sluggish and bloated and cramping, that a lot of that is because they've got the villi is being destroyed and they've got all this glue-like stuff dense in their body. So Lori, how did you discover being gluten intolerant?
So about 4 years ago, I found out about the Paleo Diet. And the Paleo Diet cuts out all grains, it cuts out all dairy and processed food. So basically you're left with fresh fruits and vegetables,
Great.
all produce, and lean meats, which should be farm raised.
Of
hopefully,
course.
Right?
Because that's another thing that's hidden in our food. That's for another episode of Cindy Uncorked.
Right.
So yes.
Right. And then of course seafood and fish.
Great.
Yeah.
So why do you think it is? Because I've known about this for 13 years, but why is it now in the last few years where this whole gluten intolerance, celiac disease, I don't want to call it a trend, but the awareness of it, why is it blowing up now versus 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago?
Well, within the last 2 or 3 decades, it's really become a big issue with a lot of people. And what has happened is the wheat plants used to be much taller with few strands, and what they did was they genetically modified the wheat plant.
Interesting.
So in a lab, somehow they changed up the way a wheat plant should grow, and now they're much shorter plants.
Oh.
And there are a lot of stems on them of wheat, so they can get much more wheat off of each wheat plant.
Oh, so they
it's
used
a
to
lot
be.
about production.
Oh, so it's a lot about production. So they used to be nice and tall and beautiful and elegant, and now they went and made it all dense and sticks us in our body, right?
Well, I think what actually has happened
Yes.
is they changed the natural state of wheat.
Oh.
And so it's been genetically modified, which means it's not in its natural state.
Okay.
And I think the problem comes into play when our body just doesn't know how to process,
Right.
how to use something that isn't in its natural state.
Interesting. Now that makes a lot of sense. It's like we're so used to intaking something and feeling happy and good in our body, then suddenly it's like putting something foreign in our body, and our body goes, "What?"
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yes.
So how is this genetically modified gluten and wheat and rye and barley and all this coming into our bodies and changing our mental states, and how does it relate to obesity and addiction?
So what happens is the gluten actually creates brain fog.
Right.
And in addition to that, I know another not so good thing.
Yes.
So in addition to brain fog,
Yeah.
it also creates obesity.
Okay.
So gluten and wheat actually are addictive. And so we want to eat more and more of them. So the more we eat, the heavier we get.
All right, everybody, I'm very curious all about if this is happening and it's causing addiction and people are getting brain fog and they're getting addicted to food and it's creating more obesity in America and North America. What is going on? I mean, does the government know about this, and why are they letting this happen? At the end of commercial break, we go live to the streets. We're going to get everyone's opinion, and then we're going to come back to Lori to give us her expert opinion. We'll see you after the break.
Are you truly living in the now, or are you just okay, caught on an endless hamster wheel of work, struggling to be the mom you desire to be, and feeling your relationships straining under the pressure? Hi, I am Yai, and my course, Prosperity Now, will show you how to stop tolerating just okay and tap into the joy of abundance. When you powerfully live in the now, you will have a career that lights you up, raise happy and fulfilled children, and cultivate a deep, loving relationship with your partner. Go to prosperitynowcourse.com for more information on how to create your prosperous life by harnessing the power of now.
Want more Cindy? Join her and professional speaker Jason Reed on the Speaking for Profit podcast, as they talk about how you can influence your audience, whether it's one person or 1,000. How uncorked do they get? You're going to have to tune in to find out.
And so do you think that there's food contamination, and does the government know about it? And if so, why do they let it happen?
You don't want me to answer this. I think most food is actually pretty bad.
Oh, I don't think I don't think the government's contaminating anything.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're trying to regulate to make sure it's not contaminated.
I do believe that has been contamination on our food because people are getting so busy with their lives and everything. They don't put so much pressure on its purity and how healthy it should be.
I think they are a little bit with chemicals and preservatives or stuff like that, just to keep it on the shelf longer so they don't have to throw stuff out, which saves money for companies and everything, but it isn't necessarily the best thing for our bodies.
And we're back. All right, Lori, what they had to say from the street was very enlightening. I would love to hear your take on this, of why the heck is this being put in our food? Does government know about it, and why would they let this happen?
I don't really know if the government knows about it.
Okay.
But I do know that there have been some studies done, and somebody has figured out that wheat is addictive.
Right. And so that's very interesting, because there are some companies, we're not saying all, but there's definitely some companies then who don't really care about our health, but they care about profits. And so they're perfectly happy to be able to put more gluten into our food so that we do become addictive and buy more and contribute to the problem, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really hidden in quite a few foods that I never would have imagined.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I was feeling ill for a while until
Right.
I figured all of this out. And once I figured it out, there was no going back to gluten. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I get you. I'm the same way.
Yeah, my digestive system was really messed up.
So let's talk about this, because I know that when I was learning about being gluten-free, there were things like salad dressings, hummus. Whenever I go to buy hummus, it says gluten-free, and I'm like, it's chickpeas and lemon and garlic, and I'm like, how could this even possibly not be gluten-free?
Right.
So it's really hidden in a lot of our food. So can you give us some tips about how do we shop so that we know if it's full of gluten or not? Because a lot of us don't realize.
Absolutely. Well, first let me just touch on some other things that people may not realize what gluten is in.
Okay.
So in addition to salad dressings that you mentioned, a lot of condiments.
Right, like ketchups and mustards and
Exactly.
barbecue sauce.
Yes. So we need to be very careful about those things, but also a lot of processed foods
Oh, right.
have gluten in them.
So, so tell us then, how do we start shopping better?
Okay, good question. So I like to buy from the perimeter of the grocery store.
Very smart.
Yeah, so personally, I eat mostly fruits and vegetables, but the perimeter would also include the meats, the dairy, and the interior is what I suggest people try to stay away from, because that's where most of the processed foods are.
And then, is there anything they need to look on the labels to identify that it has gluten? How will they know?
Absolutely. So a lot of labels will say contains wheat. Some labels have a GF, which means gluten-free.
Yay.
Which is a nice little symbol, which makes it easier. We're finding more and more products now do have the proper labeling. Just a couple of years ago, it was much more difficult.
Yeah.
But they're making it a little bit easier now to find gluten-free foods.
I love that.
Yes.
So let me ask you this then, because you are a holistic health coach. Tell us, what are your 3 top tips that our viewers can take away today to get them detoxifying and back on track, especially those that are listening to this going, oh, I do have cramping, ooh, I do have brain fog, I probably have a problem with this. Very excited to hear your tips on 3 really easy ways that people can start to detoxify their body from this and get back on track.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I would suggest first, absolutely eliminating gluten. Just that in itself will help to improve your overall health.
Great.
First tip after that would be to squeeze some lemon juice into water. A cup or 2 of water, should be warmish water.
Okay.
First thing in the morning is a great way to start to detoxify your liver.
Great.
However, some people may be a little uncomfortable with using too much citrus.
Okay.
Yeah, in time that can possibly affect the dentin and your teeth.
Right.
So instead, I personally use lemon essential oil by doTERRA.
I wonder what that is. Oh, it's behind my bum bum.
Yes.
Show it to the crowd. It's beautiful.
So this lemon essential oil is wonderful. It's from doTERRA. And doTERRA actually has the purest essential oils in the world.
Love it!
Yes. So I actually add about 4 or 5 drops of this to my water throughout the day.
Great.
In a glass water bottle.
All right, so number 2.
Number 2 would be to have either a fruit smoothie or a juice, freshly made juice from a juicer that you create yourself.
Great.
Yes, every morning that's a great way to start out your day. And in addition to that, incorporating more fruits and vegetables into your diet.
You can never have enough fruits.
Definitely
You can
not.
never have enough strawberries.
Definitely not.
I love my strawberries. And cherries and blueberries. And all right, and let's balance that with some kale.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, so 3rd and last tip.
Tip number 3 would be to do a detox of some sort, and I love doTERRA's 30-day detox program.
Great.
Yes, it helps to support the immune and digestive systems.
Beautiful.
It's wonderful. There are several products, and I did it, and afterwards I felt so amazing.
Yeah, and you look bright and detoxed and very healthy.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you look fabulous, darling. This has been so enlightening. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Cindy.
This has been very enlightening, everybody. I know I've learned that gluten is not some kind of big blobby thing like a Ghostbusters that we have to get rid of. But we do need to get rid of it now that we know what it is. And thanks to Lori, we do. So be sure, if you're ready to detox yourself, check her out at LoriBrautigan.com. Now stay tuned because Twitter fans have spoken. They're about to get uncorked. Hey, it is time for Twitter Uncorked. The question for this week is, how do you deal with people who ramble on? At Nina Mandelson says, I gently interrupt. So, what I hear you saying is this, followed by a paraphrase of what I think they're saying. At Dana Ferrant says, if you are standing, drop something. Then when you come back up, do a change of subject. At El Guiti says, a good catch is snatching the in-breath of someone who is going on and stopping it. Do you want to get uncorked? Watch for next week's question on my Twitter feed at Cindy Ashton. Next up, we have a commercial break. Stay tuned because after the break, I'm going to share how to get those ramblers under control.
My name is Maxine Warsh, and I'd like to introduce you to the washcloth. Simple to use, water only. With a warm cloth, you're going to remove all of your makeup. My face is clean and smooth and exfoliated, water only. The washcloth. Some people call it a miracle, I call it practical.
I know you. Like me, you're a socially conscious entrepreneur, already creating a legacy in your business, living what you believe in, and nothing will stop you. Except having a web presence that's just okay. The world needs to see your work, your passion, your gift. Let's show it to them. I'm Michelle Empson, and together we will build a digital platform that will be the foundation for your business growth. I did this for CindyUncorked.com, and I want to do it for you. So visit me today at sanctuary-studios.net, and let's get started.
This segment of Influence Uncorked was brought to you by Your Persuasive Voice with me, Cindy Ashton. Presentation and communication skills training to boost your influence. You know those people who are like, ramble on. Yeah, those people, they're like verbal diarrhea. They can't shut the freak up. Those people, how do you deal with people like that? Here's what I want you to know. Is a reason why people ramble on is often because there's something about them that feels insecure. They feel like they're not being seen. They feel like they need to be heard, and they just keep going on and on because they figure if they just keep talking, that they'll finally be heard. But that's really what's going on. So if you understand that it comes from insecurity and not feeling like they're enough and like they're being heard, then you can adjust your behavior. So here's what I want you to do. When somebody is doing the ramble on, what I want you to do is the first thing is, if it's appropriate, touch them. And like I said, if it's appropriate, touch them, and in the right spots, not anywhere else, okay? So you're just gonna put your hand on them to calm them down. You're gonna slow down your speech, and you're gonna acknowledge them. So, George, it's really interesting that you're saying this and this and this. I totally hear what you're saying. And then you could add in whatever point you are in. So here's the key though, is that some people start to acknowledge the other person and give them false compliments. We never ever want anything to be inauthentic. We want to be in our power and in our truth. So, you put the hand touch appropriately, you slow down your speech, you ground your energy so they ground with you, and you give them an acknowledgement that you're hearing what they're saying while being in authenticity with you. All right, try it out and see how it works. Okay, so now that you know how to deal with people who go blah, 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 let's talk about next week. It's going to be super fun. We have got Jill Hewlett coming on the show, all about how to train your brain for success. And we're actually going to get active and try some really, really cool exercises. But first, in the meantime, you can go to our web exclusives because Michelle from Toronto has requested me to sing Blues in the Night. All right, so check it out. And in the meantime, get uncorked.